Ois Beis. Hinei Avodah Shebelev Zot Tefillah. What's talking about Avodah? The work. We talked about the work, the tikkun, the fixing of the world to be megale Ein Sof in this world. So what is called avodah of the heart? So that's called tefillah. But v'hi midrabanan ve'eini deraisa. That's a mitzvah. The davening is a mitzvah midrabanan, and not counted in the mitzvahs of the Torah. K'demashma b'gemara the peri gimel the brachas the chofa medalov, as it comes out over there. It's in the Gemara. B'ayin b'mogan Avram siman kuvov. So he says, how could it be that something like davening, which seems to be such an integral part, we know that the kavanah and davening is so important. How could it be that that should not be min haTorah? And Alter Rebbe is going to bring an example of the spinal cord, that we find that the spinal cord, even though that's what gives the sustenance to all of the limbs, yet it's not counted as one of the 248 limbs. And the vertebrates, the other parts of the spine, yes, but the spine itself, no. So first he asks, but we need to understand this. Why is it not haloi? Rabbi Seinu Zal b'Mishnah b'Gemara Peri Brachas Beis the Brachas and Daf Yudvav. So within the Gemara, Hichmiru Harbe Yoser b'Kavona Satfila, they were more stringent, more in the davening, having the intention. Afilu mekavonas krishma, even more than the kavona that you have to have when you're doing the Shema. And yet, hanimnis rishoyne b'taryag mitzvahs de'eraisa, that is counted as the first mitzvah, is the reading of Shema, of the Torah commandments. And yet we're saying that the kavanah in davening in the Shemoneh Esrei is even bigger than the kavanah of Shema. Why is that? The Gemara says over there, these are matters. The davening are matters that stand in the height of the world, the top of the world. That's very important. In Perikam the Bracha da Bavamad base. And by Mashakosu, Parsha Vayichi Apostle Yudato, by Mashakosu Gam Kimin at Filo B'Divra Maskil, Simani Kichoyim Parshas Bereishis Sev Divra Maskil, Hashemayim Kisi, or Beparshas Bahar Apostle Shabsheis Tishmoiru, Parshas Chukas B'Inter Bonus Kuruchuna. In Cain, so Mahu She'eino Meminyan HaMitzvah. So why is it not from the counter of the mitzvahs if it's such an important part? Well, we'll understand the idea by introducing Kihine Yudches Brachas Shemoneh Esrei Keneged Chai Chuliyas HaShedra. The 18 brachas of the Amida correspond to the 18 vertebrates of the spine. Shebetoicham nimshach hachut HaShedra. Inside of the chulyas of the shedra extends, the cord goes inside to the vertebrae of the shedra. By example, by a person, yesh begufe ramache vorim. There is 248 limbs, which are enumerated in the Mishnah in the first end of the first chapter of Olus. Over there it says 30 on the part of the foot, chulu, and then it goes through chai chuliyas hashedra. You have the 18 vertebrates of the spine. But the spinal cord itself, which extends inside of the vertebrae, that's not counted. That's not part of the number of the Ivorim. And yet, and still, that is what stands and sustains all the limbs. It channels, it goes from the head up till the side. And through the spinal cord comes the vitality from the brain to all the limbs. The limbs are connected through the tzlois. I forgot the word, the English word for tzlois. That all the ribs, the ribs. The vorim are chuber through ribs, and the ribs are batzlois, and the ribs are bechulios, are connected to the vertebrae. V'achuli b'chut hashedra, and the chulios to the spinal cord. But v'achut eine b'chlal ha'ivorim. That's not part of the limbs. He's only the one that ties it all together. It starts from the brain, from the mind, and it expands up till the feet. And therefore, God forbid, if the spinal cord is interrupted, is broken, there is no more life, God forbid, because that carries the life from the brain to all the limbs. Likewise is the parable as far as goes the mitzvahs. The mitzvahs are the 248 limbs of the king. Our sages, blessed memory, tell us that mitzvahs tzrichis kavona. Mitzvahs need the kavona. Kavona is davening. The davening is the kavona of the mitzvahs. So that's like the chut hashedra. Kavona and the bechinas hatfila. Kavona means, say the mitzvahs kavona, they need tefillah. That is level of tefillah. She bechinas kavona upnimis la mitzvahs. That becomes the intention and the inner of the mitzvahs. That is the main that stands and sustains the 248 mitzvahs. That is like the example of the spinal cord that stands and sustains the limbs, even though that he himself is not of the 248 limbs. So we have a good example, but what does this all mean? So how come Takya? So what is the idea? What is the main intention that we have when we daven? That we're asking that the blessed light of the Eirin Sof, which is higher than the Ishtalshlus, it should be Baruch, it should extend, Nimshach, and draw the matter in the order of Ishtalshlus. Bezeu Baruch Ato Havaya. And this is what we mean, Baruch Ato Havaya. You want to be Mamshech, the Ato, into Havaya. Hainu Shemevakshim, Sheyeh, Ishabus, V'amshoch Hashem Havaya. We're asking that there should be the creation and the extension of Shem Havaya from the level of Ato. Shahu Ato is Eirin Sof Shalamayla Shem Havaya, which is higher than the Shem Havaya. So we want from Ato. Why is that? Because Shem Havaya is already Ishtalshlus, and Ato is you, which is higher than Ishtalshlus. And Baruch Ato Havaya, what would be Mamshech Ato into Havaya? Shem Havaya. That points to the evolution of the steps. You have Yud Tzimtzum, Hey is Pashtus, above this all the letters of the name of Havaya, above Amshach Chulu. Ubechinas Ha'ore Shenimshach, the shine that extends B'Shtalshu Madreges Elu. In the evolution of this madrega, who are mitzum tzemes legabe erisof shel ma'am b'shtalshlus That's a very restricted shine relative to the Ein Sof, which is higher than the Shtalshlus. I'm a Shekosu Parsha Shlach, Aposik Ani Hashem Alekeichem Be'inyan Shmoi HaGodl, Be'inyan V'hoyo Havaya Li Lelekim. So, Inyan HaBakoshet B'Shmoyne Esrei. This is what we ask in Shmoyne Esrei. Hainu, Sheyiyeh Brocha V'Amshocha Ha'Rabba Ha'ora Rabba V'Atzuma. This should be an extension and a drawn down, a tremendous, a great shine and a powerful shine. The Mailam is the Shlauslus, the Hainu Baruch Ato, and this should be Hainu, and that should go down to B'Chin Hashem Havai. So the Baruch Ato Havai, V'ayma Shekosu, V'moka Machar, B'Pirush, V'mamakim Krosicha Havaya, V'ayim Beitz Chaim Shar, Chobeis, Soif, Perik Hey, V'inyan Dalet Kriyes V'dalet Skifesh B'Shemin Esra, with regards to the 4 kneelings and the standing up in Shemin Esra, with Priyes Chaim. So we say Baruch Atah Hashem, and then we say V'roifich Lama Yisrael, and then we say Umevorich Hashonim Al Derech Moshul. So what is that? Al Derech Moshul Hu HaKli. So that is the Keli Shabem Mizgal Alakusis Baruch Lamato Begashmis. That's the way this godliness that we're mamshich. How is it revealed below in Gashmis? Is Kshanos and Chayim Ubriyas L'Cholim, when he gives life and health to those who are sick. Ubracha Pnei Hadama, and blessing on the face of the earth. V'ayim Mashakosu and Keres HaKodesh Koruv L'Soifa B'divra Maskil L'Hovin Mashakosu B'divra Priyas Chayim. So there it says Sha'at Tefillah Yamshochos Eirein Sof Baruch Hu Libya Davke, that when the davening brings down the blessed light in Sof to Biyah, Loi B'derech Yislavshus B'vad. It's not in a way that dresses up. Rak Ha'oir Mamish. It comes down, the light is Nimshach, the light itself, L'shanes HaNivroyim B'kemoy Shehem, to make a change in the Nivroim the way they are. It actually affects practical change, because the Ein Sof comes down as is Sheisra Be'achila, so that the sick gets healed, and that the rain should come down from the heavens la'aretz to the earth, and it should give the produce and sprout, so that it should be gashmis, mamish, through the bracha. This is by davening, but as opposed to when we talk about Torah mitzvahs, over there is no difference in the parchment of the tefillin cholu nimtza. So it turns out that all the requests that we ask the Amida, those are vessels for the revelation of his blessed godliness, mamish below. Those are the vessels, because that's how he expresses himself and changes around the world. And further, another issue. So one of them, it changes around. That there's an actual impact from the Hamshachas Ein Sof, makes a difference in the world, in the gashmish of the world. But there's another idea of the davening, that we make the vessels for godliness to rest. As it's known and explained in the Zohar, the leis birchos sharia ba'aser rikanya, that the blessing does not rest in an empty space. The hainu, that means cannot have the light extend unless you have vessels that it can rest in. That's why we're asking for matters of healing the sick and blessing of the years. Kol habroches the Shemoneh Esrei. All the blessed Shemoneh Esrei. What is those? Shehem Kalim. Those become the vehicles. Shabohem Yashros Ein Sof. The Shros Ein Sof will be in them. So the main thing is to have also a Keli. We're saying where it should rest, but mainly is we wanted to make a change. But we want the Ein Sof to come down. Whether it comes down and changes the Gashmis, or it comes down into a Keli that we make with Gashmis. What is the main intent? Baruch Ato Hashem. That is the main intent. Sheyiyah, to extend the Ato to Hashem. Sheyiyah Amshochas Ein Sof. V'ayim b'tikun Zoyar tikun vo. Zehu Sham Razal. This is what our sage of blessed memory tell us. Shechai brachos itzloiso, the 18 brachos of the davening, and keneged chai chulias shebesedra. They correspond to the 18 vertebrates that are in the spine. What does it mean? It's in the lemar. Shehem kelim lamshochas v'gilu oir ha'inisof ha'nimshach ha'idei tefillah. They are, the 18 brachos are the vessels to draw down and reveal the Ein Sof that comes through the davening. These brachas become the vessels through which the Ein Sof comes down. Just as the vertebrae become the vehicles to the spinal cord, which comes from the head into them, into the vertebrae, into the chulias. And that's called, in the Kabbalah, we call that drawing down the moich. That's how it comes down. Just like with the spinal cord. Nimshach moyach. There is the marrow, the moyach, that's inside the cord. When you bring down the level of das, it's called his galus elikus lemato. The revelation of godliness below as above. This is all the accomplishment of the spinal cord to bring down from the top to the bottom, to bring down the mechaber, the melchin, with the rest of the body. So now he's going to go in a long bracket over here to explain about the halacha a little bit. Why it's counted or not counted in the minyan of mitzvahs. So now it comes out well. Seems like from the Gemara there is a contradiction that we explain. What do we explain? Why is the tefillah not part of the 248 positive mitzvah? Because it's from the spinal cord, which is not part of the 230 limbs. So, how could we say but the Gemara says, but the brachas itself, they correspond to the 18 vertebrae of the spine, and they are part of the 248. As we mentioned before, in the Mishnah of Olis that counts the 18 the 18 vertebrae, the chulias. So the question is, if we're trying to say that tefillah itself, but part of the tefillah, 18 brachas make up the tefillah, and so the spinal cord is not counted. But what about all the brachas? The brachas correspond to the vertebrae. The vertebrae are part of the Ramach Chibor. It is understood from what it was explained, the betfilo yesh based body. There is two aspects in the davening. I know. Aleph, number one, who iker hamakuvim betfilo. The first thing we have, what is the main intention? The main intention of the davening. What is the davening intention? Who, as we explained, that we ask Baruch Ato Hashem, Sheyi Gilu Ein Sof Baruch Hu. This should be the revelation of the Ein Sof Baruch Hu. So that's number one. Ba'beis. And what's the second? Heina Bakoshes. Those are the specific requests. Li Yisrei Fecholim Baruch Hashonim. And they, Shehein, those parts are Rak Kelim, La'ira Hamshocha V'Hamshocha. That's vessels for the Hamshocha. So he says, V'Hakelim Ein B'chinas Chai Brachos. The Kelim actually consists of 18 brachos, just as there's 18 vertebrates, there's 18 brachos. And they are the vessels of the Chut HaShedra, which is the main chayis, as it says there in the chapter Elu Treifus in the Gemara Chulin, Shaboy Tolu HaTreifus. Over there, the treifus are totally in the Chut HaShedra. That's the main. If the shedra will be broken, but the spinal cord is still intact, then it's kshera, then it's kosher. Why? Because the main chayis is in the chut itself. So the Baruch Ato of each bracha, that's the spinal cord in the bracha. The specific parts of the bracha, that's the vertebrate of the bracha. So the main thing, though, is the tefillah, is the Baruch Ato. The part of the Sefer Shar Lamed Aleph Perek Ches, over there it discusses the Chai Chulius. Talk about the, so he says, Sheheim Neged, they correspond to Gimel Vovim. 3 times 6 is 18. The Vovim. It says in the pasuk Vayisa, that's Avraham. And then Vayovoi Bayitzchok, it says Vayet. It says Vayet Yaakov Oloi, that he pitched the tent. So the 3 Vayisa, Vayovoi, Vayet, which is the 3 Oves, which is a Chesed Gvura Tiferes. Sheheim Kelim, they are the vehicles. They are the vessels to the level of das. Das comes to them through the Aidei Chut HaShedra. By much because the little parashas Yisrael, the Ramaskil, Alfei Shino. So there's also, it says, Sheheim Bechinas Beis Tesim. Those are the 2 tests, 2 times 9 is also 18 vertebrae. Those are the 2 tessim of the malach, which we say the matat. He has the 2 tessim over there, which have tes milmailo lamato. You have the 10 spheres from the top to the bottom. The tes spheres milmato lamailo, and then from below to above, that's the 2 times 10. But tesviras and gamki and agbichinas kelim, and these 9 spheres are just a level of vessels to the extension of the Eir Ein Sof Baruch Hu, that the Ein Sof becomes the soul for the spheres. As the Tikkun Zohar says, Vahi Nivia, that flow, that Ein Sof, that level, that chayis that comes, it's like a soul to the body. So again, the idea over there is that they're merely kalim to the oil which is in them. So okay, Mashikosu b'Gemara the Chai brachas heim connected Chai Chulias. When the Gemara says the 18 brachas correspond to the 18 vertebrates kavanosam. So what they mean is shalakach tiknu Chai brachas. That's why they said 18 brachas. Shem Chai kelim da connected Chai Chulias. because these are the 18 kelim for the 18 vertebrae, so that's why we have it in brachas. But the main intent in the davening, the mitzvah of davening, mainly is that there should be the amshachas of ein Yisod Baruch Hu in the kelim anal. While derech moshel b'chinas achut hashedra atzma. That's not the kelim, that's the shedra itself. Shenimshach min hamoyach sheberosh l'mato. That comes from the rosh, from the moyach in the head to below. Kachu inyan amshachas oirin sof. So is also the idea of bringing down the ein sof b'china. So l'mayla mishtalshlus, the slavish b'chinas ishtalshlus, from a higher evolution to dress up in the ishtalshlus. But that's the main thing. So therefore, that's why it fits or comes out okay. It's not part of the number of the 24 English. The Chulias 18 just Kalim. Aval he atzmo b'chinas chut hashedra. But the davening itself is the chut hashedra. That's the spine. Teila. Now he brings a proof to this. The Hanemar. Anoimar. That's what we say. Shatfilo. Nimnis b'chaim mitzvahs. B'tariyag. So the 18 mitzvahs are counted at the 18 mitzvahs of the 630 mitzvahs. Shari chai chulias hem chai evorim. B'mein ramach. Alavadai, so it has to be part of the just the wording over here is a little this that is written, that the tefillah is counted in the 80 mitzvah. So I'm missing. I have all the words over there, yeah.
Mitzvahs metaryag sheharei ches yud oilos hem ches yud evoim beminyan ramach.
Elavadai, alavovia.
Elavadai atfila atzma.
I don't know some of the wording with that. Vada atfila atzma. Bechinas chut hashedra. Tefillah itself is chut hashedra. Vak shenimshach b'chai kelim hanal. Go back and fix up. So you want to fix up the language. We say one who doesn't bow by moedim, then the shidra becomes into a snake. Why? Through the kneeling and the bowing down, which is level of bittul. So we say moedim bit like there's a dafke mamshichim. Through this you mamshich ha'ir bekelim chai chulis hashedra. Today the invertebrate of shedra. Lochein isa b'zoyar. So it says in the Zohar Mishpat Daf Kuf Amud Aleph Parsh Nacht Amud Aleph. The man that lekora b'moedim ein chai la'osid. If you don't bend by moedim, you don't get up in the future. K'moish Eva Pri Chodesh Be'er Chaim Simon Kuf Yud Gimel. B'hainu. The reason is because he's not bringing down the life of the neshama level of chai, which is him chai chuliyos. Okay.